What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video, and in this video I'll jump into some of the news that came out yesterday of some of the guys that the New York Giants brought in, give my opinions of the contracts that they signed as the New York Giants continue to rebuff this roster through free agency, and I think so far they've done a pretty damn good job. Now, the Kenny Golladay search continues. We'll talk about that in this video as well. Some of the news that has come out there, and we're going to start there, and then we'll jump into some of the figures that have come out. News came out earlier today, and I'll be live today, by the way, at 2:30, and we're going to talk about all of it. But news came out today that the Baltimore Ravens have also inquired about him. He's had a meeting with the Chicago Bears. He's had a meeting with the Cincinnati Bengals. I think the Bears are personally completely out of it after they franchise tagged Allen Robinson. I don't see how they're going to have enough money to be able to sign a guy like Kenny Golladay. We're also going to get into the supposed dollars that he's asking for, and in why, in my personal opinion, he will not get it. But we're going to have to wait and see how it all turns out as he's with the Giants for day number 2. We'll see, and my guess would be if the Giants are going to sign him, you'll get an answer by the end of today, but we're going to have to wait and see how it all plays out, and maybe Golladay will continue to be patient and try to get what he feels is a fair asking price. Also, from what I read, the Cincinnati Bengals came with a 1-year offer. I've seen somewhere it was $8 million. I've seen somewhere it was 12 or 12.5. But nobody is getting near his reported asking price of 18.5, and a lot of people thought that's around what he'd be able to get before this process started. But you saw Allen Robinson sign that franchise tag, probably due in large part to that he didn't think he was going to be able to get anywhere near that. So Golladay may have to take less than what he initially anticipated. But we'll see how it all plays out. But like I said, I also wanted to jump into Reggie Ragland. I also wanted to jump into Kyle Rudolph. And, of course, Mike Glennon, the new backup quarterback with the New York Giants. And like I said, so far, I'm going to be honest with you, and I know a lot of people, it's Kenny Golladay or bust. So far, I think the New York Giants have knocked this free agency out of the park. They've signed a lot of short deals. They've filled a lot of holes. And, of course, Kenny Golladay would be the cherry on top. Now, what I will say, if we do miss out on Kenny Golladay, being that we're looking to give him a certain amount of money, being that I think we're taking this very seriously, the New York Giants will have more money to spend to hopefully fill in another hole. So if they're not able to bring in Golladay, maybe you bring in a top-tier cornerback, and then you attack wide receiver in the first round of the draft. So I think there's other avenues that the Giants could take if this goes south. I know a lot of people are going to be pissed off, but at the end of the day, the guy's coming off an injury, and if the Giants feel his contract demands are too high and they want to go another way, I'm going to be on board with it until I see the whole plan play out. And we'll see how this offseason plays out at the end of May. Okay, the end of, going into May. Some people are going to go crazy if we don't end up getting this guy. No, not me. I'd love him. I think it gives us a lot more freedom in the first round, but we could still have a very productive offseason if we don't get him. Now, the initial reports with Kyle Rudolph was that it was 2 years, $16 million. Well, that was not true. It was much lower than that, and we're going to get into it and why I think he is a perfect fit for the Jason Garrett-led offense. But first, we're going to pull up the news. This was from NBC Sports, supposedly coming out about Kenny Golladay. The Bears, who reportedly offered the free agent wideout somewhere around $12 million, were woefully short of Galladay's asking price. The $18.5 million is hardly an outrageous demand for an established receiver like Golladay, who remains likely to sign a short-term deal. The Ravens on Friday joined the mix of teams vying for Galladay's services in 2021. Now, if it's going to be a short-term deal, I don't see the New York Giants being able to sign him on a 1-year deal, because you're not going to be able to maneuver that money. So I think for the Giants, it would probably have to be like a 3-year deal so they could stretch that money out and maybe have an option to get out after 2. That's about as short of a deal as I could see. Maybe a 2-year deal and you backload the second year of the contract. But I cannot see, and I really can't see many other teams being able to sign him, being that most people are tied down right now due to their salary cap, being able to sign him to a 1-year deal. If he was going to get a 1-year deal, I think he would have gotten franchise tagged by the Detroit Lions. But like I said, we'll wait. We'll see. We'll continue to monitor the situation. If I had to guess, even though you're hearing that his demands are in the $18.5 million range, I think he's going to get, like Tom Pelissero said a couple of days ago, between $14 and $16 million. If you're able to sign him for anything less than that, it's a bargain. But do I want the New York Giants to exceed that and go 18.5 over a 3 or 4 year deal? My personal opinion at this point in time, due to the market, probably not. I would sooner try to bring in another piece, like I said, a cornerback, and then try to attack wide receiver in free agency. Now, good news for the Giants. Ultimately, I don't think he's going to be able to take that. And if he wants the Giants, and if he looks around and he sees the other offers, he may very well sign here. We're going to find out, like I said, if he's going to be a Giant. I guess it happened today, if not by tomorrow, as the Giants brought him in for a 2-day visit. But other things I wanted to go over with you guys were just this. First, the contract about Kyle Rudolph. Tight end Kyle Rudolph signed for a 2-year, $12 million contract, $4.5 million guaranteed. So it's only $6 million a year on average, with an average annual salary of $6 million, carrying a cap hit of just 4.7 and a dead cap hit of 4.5. So not crazy money there. Doesn't kill the cap. It's only a 2-year commitment. Now, the question that's going to come from this from a lot of people is, what does this mean for Evan Ingram? Evan Ingram's making the same amount of money, $6 million. It's on a 1-year commitment. Now, maybe does this mean that if they don't trade Evan Ingram more than likely won't be back with the Giants? Well, I thought that before this deal. Of course, Rudolph has another year with the New York Giants, and maybe he will be his inevitable replacement, or maybe they plan on trading Evan Ingram and drafting a guy like Kyle Pitts. But if I had to guess, and this contract didn't change anything for me, I don't think Evan Ingram will be in the long-term plans for the Giants, but that does not mean that Evan Ingram will not be a part of this year's roster. Do I think the Giants would be open to trading him? Sure, but I think the right deal would have to present itself. I don't think they're going to give him away for free. But either way, I really like this Rudolph signing. You think back to Jason Garrett's scheme with the Dallas Cowboys. I think he fits this scheme much better than a tight end like Evan Ingram. You think of a guy like Jason Witten. Jason Witten and Kyle Rudolph, to me, have similar skill sets. Not comparing the two as players, but I feel like they're similar tight ends. Rudolph is also a very tall target that should help dramatically in the red zone. Last year, the New York Giants ranked 31st in that area. Well, adding a guy like Kyle Rudolph is certainly going to help the New York Giants in that area of the football field. Next up, we're going to go over Mike Glennon, and then we're going to jump into some of the stats of some of these prospects as well. Glennon came up, I think, in 2013 with the Tampa Bay Bucks. I believe he went to NC State, if I'm not mistaken. He actually had a pretty good rookie year, and then he's been a backup. But I definitely think he's an upgrade over Colt McCoy. Glennon last year started 5 games for the Jaguars. I think he threw 7 touchdowns, 5 picks. He's got a career QB rating of 84, and I definitely think he's a good backup. Like, he's a legitimate backup that I could say, yeah, if Daniel Jones goes down, I think Glennon could step in and at least man the fort and hopefully keep us competitive and win a couple of football games. I think it's an upgrade, and the best part about it, they're paying less for him than what they paid for Colt McCoy. Let's go over the numbers. Quarterback Mike Glennon, 1 year, $1.35 million, $425,000 guaranteed, carrying a cap hit of $1.35 million and a dead cap hit value of $425,000. So they're paying him pennies. And last year, like I said, Colt McCoy got, I think, a lot more than that. I don't know the contract off the top of my head, and I think he's an upgrade. As a matter of fact, I remember talking about Glennon last year as a possibility for the New York Giants to bring in as a backup quarterback, and the Giants end up bringing him in the following year for much less than what McCoy made last year. Of course, with this signing, you can only assume the free agent Colt McCoy will not be back with the New York Giants, but for the money, this is a great deal by the New York Giants. And then you want to talk about great deals, you want to talk about a guy with upside. The New York Giants bring in Reggie Ragland for 1 year, $1.27 million, $137,000 guaranteed, carrying a cap hit of $987,500. The cap hit is less than $1 million. We're going to get into some things about Ragland, but he's a former second-round pick out of Alabama. He's been a starter in this league, and he's known to be a hard-nosed run defender. He's not a guy known for coverage. To me, he kind of replaces David Mayo, but I expect him to compete to start against a guy like Tate Crowder. I also expect them to use Peppers a lot in that area as well in coverage situations, but I do like this. He's a run stuffer, and I think he's a guy that's going to step in for next to nothing and at a bare minimum provide depth for the Giants, but I would guess more than likely, he would beat out a guy like Tate Crowder to be in the starting lineup, and it's something that the New York Giants needed. They needed to buff up some depth in that linebacking core. So again, I think this was a very good signing by the New York Giants, especially when you factor in value. These are some notes about Reggie Ragland. Reggie was considered a top prospect for last year's draft, but he returned to Alabama as a leader on defense, a move that paid off as he helped lead the Crimson Tide to another national title. Now Ragland is viewed as one of the top run-defending inside linebackers in the draft, a thumper with elite power and toughness at the point of attack. Ragland was made to stop the run. He has a strong anchor against offensive linemen and is relentless in his pursuit, chasing the ball inside and outside the hashes. A scheme versatile inside linebacker. Ragland can also bring pressure as a pass rusher when given reps there. That was the book on him coming out of college, and that sounds like the type of ideal player for this scheme. These were his numbers while playing at Kansas City and Detroit over the last 4 years. 2017, he actually started 10 games for the Kansas City Chiefs. He had 44 combined tackles. Then in 2018, he actually started every game for the Chiefs. 16 games, he started 15. He had 86 combined tackles, 2 tackles for loss. Like I said, he's known mainly as a run stuffer. That's what he's going to bring to the table. He had 1 interception. Then in 19 and 14 games, in a limited role, he only started 7 games. He had 30 tackles. Last year, he had 52 tackles in 16 games, in which he started 6 for the Detroit Lions. Obviously, we also brought in the former O'Brien, who came over from to be a part of our front office, who came over from Detroit. So there's some intel there, and maybe the Giants really do feel like he fits the scheme, and they paid next to nothing to bring him in. And yeah, that was basically all that I wanted. I didn't pull up the stats for Glennon, but Glennon had pretty good numbers. And Rudolph, to me, the biggest thing about Rudolph is how he's going. First off, he's a complete tight end. The guy is a very good blocker. He's always been known as a good blocker, and he's going to help us tremendously in the red zone. It was a signing that I did not expect, but I definitely think it's a signing that adds another implement to this New York Giants offense. And if you're able to get Kenny Golladay, and we're going to have to wait and see what the contract is and what other teams are willing to bid on his services, but if they ultimately end up with Golladay, and you have a guy like, obviously, Kyle Rudolph, that is going to help us so much in an area that we struggled in so badly last year in the red zone. Not to mention, you get Saquon Barkley back and John Ross. Don't forget about him as a deep threat. If we get Golladay, this offense is really shaping up to do damage in 2021 and have a dramatic improvement. And if we don't get him, it's not the end of the world. You get your corner, and then you attack your weapon in the first round of the draft. We're going to have to wait and see how it all plays out. But so far, I am happy with this year's free agency period. We're filling holes. As always, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.